Today we have two topics that go hand in hand with each other: collections and year 1 gear and weapons. First we'll talk about collections, and then it should flow naturally into a discussion about year 1 stuff. My goal with these kinds of videos is to share my ideas on how to ameliorate the game and maybe offer some insight on significant problems that may not be getting the attention they deserve. I don't expect everyone to agree with everything, and if you've got something to add, please feel free to comment below. I always enjoy hearing other people's perspectives. So Destiny 2 has received a ton of game-changing updates with patch 2.0 and the release of Forsaken. One of the more well-received additions was a feature known as collections. All of the kiosks that had your ships, your sparrows, shaders, your masks, exotic weapons, and armor are now all easily accessible wherever you are in the game. Collections is immense. It has everything from transmat effects to uncommon gear, and it stores it all so after you discard an item, you can retrieve it again. It also helps to show you exactly what you still have yet to obtain in the game. It's a very nifty system, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the reasons the UI is so damn slow on console. It's like having a vault on your character permanently that has to be ready to load any one of the 2,000 items on your command. Even though collections is a very helpful feature, it has a huge problem. And that's our topic of discussion for today. The biggest problem with collections to me is the fact that half of the items in it cannot be reacquired. If you've been playing Forsaken for a while now, you'll know that when surfing through the tabs and previewing all of the year 2 weapons and armor you've acquired, you aren't able to rebuy them. It says something like, this item cannot be reacquired because of random rolls. Now, the interesting part about this is even curated weapons cannot be reacquired. Curated weapons means that they drop with a static set of perks, handpicked by Bungie, and also are always upgraded to a tier 10 masterwork. So even weapons that do not have random rolls cannot be reacquired. Maybe this is because Bungie hasn't figured out how to make it so when you buy back a curated roll, you can't just dismantle it for cores. I'm not really sure. I feel like they've done it before though for something, and they could also just make it so you have to spend the amount of cores you would get if you dismantled it to buy it back. But allowing curated rolls to be repurchased shouldn't be where Bungie stops. There's a bunch of different solutions we could throw out, but the end goal here is to be able to reacquire any weapon or any piece of gear from year 2. Currently, we cannot, and that's a huge flaw. So how would I fix that? You could make it so that whichever version of the gun or armor piece that a player gets first was entered into the collections, and that role was solidified as the role inside the collections, allowing us to retrieve the item with the very first set of rolls it ever got. Sounds fair at first until you think about someone having really bad luck and getting all terrible rolls on their armor, and now they effectively have a useless collection of terribly rolled weapons and armor, while someone else could have really good luck and have a ton of great rolls that they access as many times as they want. Yeah, that might not work out too great. Another option would be allowing the player to donate a piece of armor or weapon into the collection to solidify that roll. For example, if I get a chest piece that has a really good roll on it, I should have an option to donate it to the collections. Donating the item removes it from my inventory and puts it into the collections, allowing me to retrieve that specifically rolled item as many times as I want. This would make it a lot more fair because the player gets to decide which roll will appear in their collections tab. Now, my final suggestion on how Bungie could approach this problem is by creating a set of static rolls for every single year 2 weapon and armor piece. This would be a ton of work, but would allow everyone to be on a completely level playing field and acquire all items from year 2 with the same rolls as everybody else. Regardless of the approach, I feel making year 2 weapons and gear available to buy back would be a fantastic improvement to the system. That would definitely alleviate some frustration with the year 2 loot pool, but let's not forget we still have hundreds of items from year 1 that are laying there collecting dust. Now, of course, not every item is completely useless. I still rock weapons like Midnight Coup, the OG Better Devils, Alone as a God, MANANNAN SR4, Inaugural Address, and of course the Escalation Protocol shotgun. All year 1 weapons and armor have static rolls, so once you get the weapon, that's the best the weapon is ever going to be. And beyond the few god roll weapons and some old favorites, I'm willing to bet that most of the year 1 weapons probably go unused, because they didn't get the random roll treatment. A few weapons did, like Play of the Game, Better Devils, Crooked Fang, Valkadon, and a few others I can't name off the top of my head, but I have to ask, why didn't every weapon get random rolls? You have this huge game, but only half of the loot in it is actually worth grinding for. The whole reason the community demanded the return of random rolls, and the reason it was brought back, is because it extends the grind, adds variety, and with the potential god rolls, makes the loot hunt way more exciting. Without a lot of year 1 items having random rolls, it really just makes old content irrelevant, which is definitely not a new topic if you've been with the series since the original game. With Forsaken being out now for 2 months, I think it's safe to say no one is going to complain about making more loot relevant. There really isn't a downside to it. It's not going to make the Dreaming City weapons or armor harder to acquire, since that's an entirely separate loot pool, and it would allow new players who missed out on year 1 to acquire some really good weapons. It would even allow veteran players to go back and hunt for a weapon that previously had a terrible roll, and maybe turn it into a decent one. Now, it's no secret that perks are a huge part of the problem with the loot in Destiny right now, and there's not nearly enough variety and interesting, powerful perks, so giving all year 1 items random rolls would not entirely solve the problem, but it would definitely make a big impact. One thing I haven't specifically covered yet is year 1 armor. While it is a bummer year 1 weapons still have the same old static rolls, it's even more of a letdown that every single piece of year 1 armor is essentially obsolete. Since old armor cannot have random rolls, you are always going to be at a disadvantage if you wear old armor, even if you put a new mod in it. This sucks since I am someone who has a few year 1 sets that I would really love to wear. On my year 2 hunter set, I even still wear a year 1 Iron Banner cloak with the season 3 ornament because I think it looks way better than any cloak available in year 2. Same with my Titan. I still wear the season 1 Optimacy helmet because I just love the way it looks, even if it's going to cost me a few perks. But I shouldn't have to make that sacrifice. There's a lot of decent year 1 armor that again is limiting the loot pool by not having random rolls. If I could run the Leviathan raid or raid layers again and get randomly rolled raid sets, sign me up. Bungie could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, making old content relevant and actually, giving us more loot to chase. Making year 2 items available to purchase from the collections and making year 1 items relevant again are 2 big things I believe this game needs. Of course, the loot in general is a completely different topic, something I covered briefly in my strike-specific video about how a lot of the loot is kind of boring, but again, a different topic. There are, of course, other problems, but this is something that should have been a goal for Bungie to implement at the start of Season 5. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen when Season 5 starts on the 27th. Hopefully these quality of life updates come sooner than later, because before we know it, I'm sure all of our loot's going to get blown up again anyway. Maybe Savathun will toss all of our gear into a black hole, even though somehow we have it in our collections, so I'm not really sure what kind of excuse Bungie could use there, but anyway, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. And Bungie, please update collections and old gear. It would be awesome. So that there is pretty much my thoughts on collections. I am very excited and looking forward to Black Armory and cannot wait to make some guides again. I really enjoy doing these kinds of videos and it allows me to get my thoughts out there, ideas out there, and hopefully improve the game. And I love hearing what you all have to say on the matter as well. It's always important to keep constructively criticizing a game you really like so that it can keep improving and eventually become a game that you love. If you have a specific topic you'd be interested in hearing my thoughts on, just leave it in the comments. I always read them. It's definitely gotten a lot harder to read them all over the past few months, but I do my best. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Oh yeah, and there will be a few extra minutes of gameplay right now. If you want to stick around and watch it, feel free to support the channel. You don't have to though, the thoughts video is over, but this is just for those who want to show a little extra support because you know how YouTube works these days. I love you guys, thank you so much for the support, and thank you for helping me hit 50,000 subs.
Compromised. Take it out. Invader down. You're clear.
not to clear these gambit arenas so fast. It takes work to lure these guys all the way out here to fight you.